welcome into the Fantasy Guides podcast. My name is Andrew Teuscher, and I am joined today by the master of the spreadsheet, the bet meister himself, Fantasy Guides contributor Jacob Rhodes, and not Steven. Steven couldn't make it today, but Jacob, you ready to fill in his stead?
I am, absolutely. We can definitely fill in for Steve.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just get Steve's buys and sells. We have them. We got them from him. And the best part of it is you get his good advice, but you don't have to hear the old guy rant on about the old times and radios and stuff that existed millions of years ago. So we got you guys. We did that on purpose. You're welcome. No, Steve will come back eventually, but we'll get into our buys and sells. We got week 9 coming out ahead of us. These are the guys you got to buy, the guys you got to sell to help you get to that fantasy championship. And we're going to dive right into them right now. Jacob, you got us a buy, a nice running back maybe, or two. Who you got as a buy this week?
Yeah, my first buy is a dirt cheap buy low that you can probably get for pennies, or some receiver that you have that just sits on your bench if you need a running back fill in for the bye weeks. But it's Rico Dowdle. I missed this past week with an illness. I don't think that will continue into next week. I would hope not. But Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook are like the definition of washed. They're terrible. They are not any competition to Rico's workload. He had 3 straight double-digit fantasy outings before that bye week, and then missing this past week with an illness. So I think the running back room is his. There's not competition to take it away from him, and there certainly isn't competition to take away from the receiving work that he gets. He's also got a top 10 schedule in the fantasy playoffs. I like the floor he has, and it's mostly a good offense. That team has a better schedule the second half of the season as like a whole. Dak's got a better schedule. It should benefit Dowdle as well. I think he's going to have scoring opportunities. It's the starting running back on what should be a good offense, and he's got a solid schedule rest of season and a good one in the playoffs. So he's dirt cheap. So just go buy you a cheap little running back.
Yeah, this is a buy low, and you don't even have to maybe even do it this next week. He's got a couple of tough matchups coming ahead of him, but it's buy low. He literally was signing autographs. People are concerned that he wasn't sick. I don't know. Sick gate. It's out there.
Yeah.
So we don't know. Maybe Dalvin Cook gets more work, but it's just a guy who could just go back to the exact same situation he was in previously, where he was doing just fine and contributing to fantasy, and a guy you can stash on your team who has a incredible week 15 matchup first week of the playoffs and could get you somewhere. And again, this is a buy low, not something you have to buy high on.
Yeah. Cook had 2 yards a carry on 6 carries, and Zeke had 3.4 on 10 carries. So Zeke also got into the end zone somehow. That's Dowdle's work. And again, the receiving volume, those guys aren't getting it. Rico's getting it.
Yeah, it's just buy low. No, everyone's panicking on him. This is the time to take advantage of it. I am a big believer in the prime time buy low. After a primetime game, something goes wrong, you buy into that team that just had something go wrong if there's not
absolutely
a reason for it to go even worse. You had a little extra buy for us, though. What's another running back you're interested in looking into?
This is a guy that there is not any explanation needed. Everybody knows, but this is more of target this guy if the person that drafted him at the 101 is not looking so good right now. The record kind of stinks. Maybe they need some running back help, and also you're in a pretty decent spot heading into playoffs.
Why are you describing my fantasy football team right now? The injuries everywhere
left
and right. This is
my team, yeah. But it's Christian McCaffrey. We know what he is when he comes back. Jordan Mason's he pumpkined the last 4 weeks that he had the starting role. I'm not worried about Isaac Guerrero. Maybe he gets spelled a couple times, but he's not losing receiving work. He's not losing touchdown work. This offense is only going to get better with him there. This is still the running back one as soon as he comes back, and everything is pointing to him being back after the bye week in week 10. So it's one more week without him. If you're in a good position and you've got running back depth or wide receiver depth, whatever it might be, and the team that does have him has just been tilting all season, which if they have McCaffrey, they probably have been. That team needs to make a push and needs to sell McCaffrey at a decent price. I think now's your time. It's going to be impossible when he is active week 10.
Yeah, rumors are, at least the analysis is, our guy Sports Meds Analytics kind of describes this as just a load management kind of injury. Ease him into it, see how it goes. So his workload's going to go down, but that's still going to be a full-fledged Christian McCaffrey on every single touch he gets. You give Christian McCaffrey 10 touches a game in a Shanahan offense, that's still a running back I want. That's minimum a running back too. You're still going to see Mason involved, but you're going to see CMC back playing football and doing phenomenal things, which you can't get enough of.
Yeah, and he's going to be minus 250 to score a touchdown in his first week back. Like, we just know that's going to be a lock moving forward rest of the year. So he is who he is. I know it's been tilting all year, and it's kind of a tough one to buy into, but it's one to buy into if you're aiming to win a fantasy championship and you've got some pieces to move to do it.
Go get you some CMC. Rico Dowdle, a nice cheap buy. CMC, buy lower, but I mean, it's CMC. It's basically the same guys. Sure. Moving on, we got another buy, a wide receiver for you. This is fresh from the typed fingers of Steven. George Pickens, a guy who we've had as a buy not too long ago. We're reiterating the fact that you have to get in on buying into the George Pickens experience. Steven wanted us buying into the Russell Wilson experience and having him specifically as a buy last week. I disagreed with that, but I will not disagree with the fact that he's going to throw the ball downfield. He's going to throw a classic moonshot. He's got something left in that arm, just that much left in his arm to launch a moon ball down. And it's, oh my God, it is beautiful. It is like, it is not even a shot at Justin Fields about him not being good at downfield passes. Russell Wilson throws the best moon ball in the game still, like better than Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, anyone. He's got the best one. And George Pickens, that's what he does. He catches back shoulder fades. He catches moon balls. He's averaging about 90 yards a game. These last two games combined, he's getting plenty of targets. He's getting a massive air yard share. Nothing has changed. We even saw the rookie that they just got out of Michigan, a guy
Roman
oncoming.
Wilson.
Yeah, Roman Wilson just hit the IR. So there is no one coming in to take targets unless they make a move at the deadline. George Pickens, second easiest remaining schedule. Are you also in on picking up some Pickens?
Yeah, and if, like you mentioned with the primetime stuff, a lot of people probably saw it, but there was a touchdown he had in the first quarter that was called back by penalty. And then there was another touchdown he had that was reviewed, and he tapped the same foot twice, which is more difficult than getting 2 feet down.
It was
but
insane.
If it's the same
that was
one,
so talented.
Yeah, if it's the same one, it doesn't count. So his other foot was doing acrobatics, trying to stay off the floor, apparently, but that one should have been good. That's 2 touchdowns that he easily had that got called back. And then there was even a third one you could debate a little bit that was downfield. If he could have tiptoed the sideline a little bit better, he could have got in, but he went out at like the 3 or 4 yard line. So it was almost just an absolutely massive 40 bomb type game for George Pickens, but ended up not being that. Offense looks better with Russell Wilson there. They're scoring more points. There's more deep threats. It's just better, and it's better for Pickens. And they've got some sort of a run game too, which helps open up the pass game. I'm in on Pickens. He's not going to necessarily be a cheap buy, but I think he's someone worth spending up for.
But it's a guy who, based on the amount of targets he's getting, the air yards he's getting, the raw yards he's getting, he should be scoring touchdowns. Russ is throwing touchdowns. They're just being ripped away from him. So, plus it's George Pickens. He's so fun to watch. He's going to do something stupid. He did a WWE super slam on a guy laying on the ground. You want to root for that. Get him in your
Tried to jump
lineups.
over the guy, just completely missed and landed on him. It was great.
Go you, George Pickens. I think it was on purpose. He's been watching too much WWE. Good for you, George. I got another buy. Another young receiver. That's what we do. You buy young receivers in the second half. They're going to stick around longer. They're not going to have as much wear and tear. And especially rookies, you see them getting better over the second half of the season. And that's what's going to happen with Malik Nabers. Add primetime game. The Giants look horrible. Daniel Jones, I was watching the end of that game. My opponent had the Steelers defense. And I thought I desperately need them to score, put up a field goal. There's no way. But I just knew something dumb was going to happen. I waited for it. Lo and behold, 2 turnovers at the end of the game. It's not Malik Nabers' fault. And he's still getting the ball plenty of times. Malik Nabers got 21 targets these last 2 games since coming back from injury. So he's averaging over 10 targets a game still. He's just not getting the deep shots, haven't quite hit. There was a play I saw last night specifically where he caught it, almost got 2 feet down, didn't quite get it. It's just missing. He's getting so much volume, a dangerous amount of volume that might hurt him, but we'll keep it. And Malik Nabers, so you want the second half rookie. You want a guy getting lots of targets who just isn't quite scoring. And you want a guy with a good remaining schedule, 4th best remaining schedule for him, whether it's Drew Lock, whether it's Daniel Jones. You want Malik Nabers, no matter who is throwing him the football. unless Deshaun Watson makes his way over. Then that's bad. But for now, unless Bryce Young, Deshaun Watson come to New York, you're fine.
Yep. Yeah, and there's guys ranked ahead of him right now that I would much rather have Nabers over rest of season. You got guys like Terry McLaurin that are ranked over him right now. He's actually the wide receiver 9, which I'm happy for Terry, but I'd rather have Nabers rest of season. Garrett Wilson's at 6 right now, which is kind of crazy. He's leading the league in targets still. You got to think Adams gets more involved, so I would rather have Nabers than him. You've got Drake London at 5. That one's close. That's kind of personal preference there, but yeah, I think there's guys that there's very few guys I would rather have over Malik Nabers rest of the season, so he is worth spending up for. He is an alpha wide receiver, just even against Daniel Jones, he can overcome it. He's shown it already, and it could get better with him if Drew Lock comes in somehow and makes an appearance and just starts slinging the ball more. That'd be kind of fun.
This one hurts me. I'm an avid supporter. I'm attached to this player in a very emotional way. It hurts me every time to see it. Jacob, tell the world your sell.
The sell is coming off a national tight end day, which was just absolutely insane and absolutely an outlier.
Every week should be National Tight End Day. Everyone was scoring, not just tight ends. New policy.
Yeah. Only the 2 best tight ends didn't score, and it was Brock Bowers and Trey McBride. Of all the 2 tight ends not to score on National Tight End Day, it was those ones, but
that's how fantasy football works.
Yep. So Kyle Pitts is my sell. He is the tight end 4 right now. He is coming off 4 straight top 10 matchups. 2 of those top 10 were against the Buccaneers.
Seattle.
And then the other 2 were top 5 matchups. So he has had a 4-week stretch of just great matchups that he's put up solid production in. And then last week was just absurd with the 2 touchdowns, 1.5 actually. But it was 2 touchdowns on the scoreboard. That's what you got credit for. He fumbled the one going into the end zone, but we can't have pylon cameras in every single game, so it never got overturned.
I was so confused to see that. Like, that's literally their thing they always show is pylon cam.
Yeah, and then they just, for some reason, they don't have him in that game. Anyways, he's got Dallas, New Orleans, Denver, and then a bye week these next 4 weeks. That is bad. He's got a bottom 10 rest of season schedule. He's got the 5th worst fantasy playoff schedule. It's not great matchups, and he just doubled his touchdown total this past week on the season. So he had 1 going into last week. This is a Drake London-led passing attack and Darnell Mooney mixed in. I don't trust enough volume for Kyle Pitts to sustain tight end 4. I would rather have guys like David Njoku, even Cade Otton, and obviously if you, for some crazy reason you can give Pitts +1 and go get Bowers, go do that too, since he only had like a 10-point day, which would have been like the tight end 5 any other week, but it was like tight end 18 this past week. So I would rather have all those guys. I think he's in a good sell spot. There's bad matchups coming up, bad rest of the season, and it's just a stretch that I don't think you can count on from him.
Another thing we talk about all the time when we're selling high. Again, this is a sell high, not a get rid of him off your team. He's going to do nothing. I think he's worked into this offense. I do think they found a role for him specifically. I think he's going to keep doing well, but he's a top 5 tight end right now. And a strategy we keep bringing up is go to the Sleeper app, open up their little game log, and do you see green? And your eyes light up like it's the Vegas neon lights. There is so much green on his page because of those matchups he just had. Whoever you sell him to, you're going to have an easy time saying, the breakout finally happened. He's a top 5 tight end. I just want to get a receiver. I just want George Pickens real quick. I just want Malik Nabers. Pitts plus something for Nabers. Get the job done. Go get you CMC. There's tight ends everywhere. Hunter Henry, I think I like just as much rest of the season as Kyle Pitts. And Hunter Henry's on
crazy,
but
yeah.
As long as Drake May is there, I'm all in on it. Hunter Henry, always in my mind.
Still on a lot of waiver wires.
Cade Otton, the myth, the legend, the guy I was trash talking the entire time. It's just tight ends are rotational. They're weirdly big on matchups. So it's just a sell high.
Yep, absolutely. Hawkinson's another one too. If you need kind of a tight end +1, he should be coming back hopefully sooner rather than later and kind of fill in for you there. And I think he'll be just fine.
Exactly. That Vikings offense led by Sam Darnold. Well, here's another NFC North tight end that we are willing to sell. A couple of tight ends coming off National Tight End Weekend. It feels a little blasphemous, but this is Steven's sell, a Tucker Kraft, and I got to get behind it. He's been the tight end 4 over the last 5 weeks, which has been awesome. He looks great. He's playing great. He scored 5 touchdowns over 4 weeks. But folks, he's had a 14% target share. 14%. That's really low. That's lower than Kyle Pitts, and his target share has not been great. That is way, way down there. Remember Robert Tonyan, Jacob, way back in the day?
Big Bob Tonyan. Yeah, I remember Big Bob.
Big Bob Tonyan is just getting all these touchdowns on very few receptions and just making big plays. That's not sustainable. He got lucky in that season, but there's so many receiving options now, all healthy in Green Bay. Now Jordan Love looks like he's not as healthy, and I'm not as concerned about that, but Tucker Kraft, he's just overperformed. I just sold him in Dynasty. I think he's going to be something. I think he is a part of this offense. I don't think he's nothing, but sell high. He's had an incredible stretch. It's not sustainable, and he's got an incredible, tough remaining schedule that he's still got to go up against. He's hit his peak, and it's time to get out from underneath.
Yep, I agree. And you've also had Luke Musgrave out for the past 4 weeks, and he's going to be out a little bit longer, it looks like. But when he comes back, beginning of the season, that was the tight end 1 for this team. It wasn't after the first few weeks when they realized they had something with Tucker Kraft, but it's someone else that's going to be in that same role that's going to take targets away whenever he comes back. And you look at Jaden Reed too, his volume's been down lately. That's not going to continue. That guy's the best receiver they have. I know they have a lot of talent. They spread the ball around, but I think there's brighter days ahead for Jaden Reed. And I think that comes at the cost of Tucker Kraft. So it's bad schedule. I mentioned the names like Njoku, Otten. I would rather have those guys than Tucker Kraft rest of the season. I'd rather have TJ Hawkinson if you can go get him. There's other names I'd rather have, and I think you can get some of those names +1 for Kraft right now with how well he's performed. So he's a good sell high target.
Over these last few weeks, again, that great stretch, he finished as the tight end 1, tight end 1, tight end 31, then the tight end 11, and the tight end 9. Here's the catches he had in those games. He had one good one, 6 catches in one game, but then 4, 2, 3, and 3. That is so unsustainable, but touchdowns galore. He's touchdown or bust. He's touchdown or bust. So ship him off. Tight ends are great to package off to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great idea. Push him out. He's fine. I wouldn't drop him for nothing, but
yeah.
I think
he's likely your tight end too as well. Not many people even drafted him. You got him off waivers in week 1 or 2. So he's probably your second best tight end on your own team. And there are teams that need help at tight end. So he's a good one to package in for sure.
Kraft wasn't the starting tight end at the beginning of this year. He was available on Dynasty waiver wires, was Tucker Kraft. So definitely someone you can afford to move off of. Speaking of guys you got off the waiver wire, it's now time to sell this man. He's back. He's looking big. He's looking chunky. It's big old Kareem Hunt, who has been taken over ever since Isaiah Pacheco went out a few weeks ago. It's his backfield. He is absolutely dominated the backfield. I bet his over on rushing attempts last week against the Raiders, and it was the easiest number I knew he was going to hit, and I was not going to dare think about betting his over on yards because he has been terrible on a yards per carry basis. He's averaging 3.6 yards per carry. That's a ton of volume. On a ton of volume. He's at 20 plus carries in multiple weeks in a row to this point, and it's just not going to keep happening because Mr. Isaiah Pacheco is coming back. Kareem Hunt, 27 carries, 22 carries, 21 carries in his last few games. And Pacheco looks like he should be back week 10. And I don't even think Pacheco gets all of the work back immediately. I think they probably are going to ease him in. But in this offense, in this economy of the Chiefs offense, this state of it, this is not a good offense. This is not a great offense. This is a good fine. It's above average, whatever. But this isn't your dad's Chiefs that were scoring tons and tons of points like 10 years ago or 7 years ago, whatever they began that stretch. They're boring. They're going to run the ball a lot, but it's not touchdowns and passes everywhere. You need the lead back to have the lion's share. And I can guarantee you when Pacheco is back, it will not be the lion's share we're seeing currently going Kareem Hunt's way. He's also got a couple of incredibly tough matchups. Like, this is Kareem Hunt. Sell him right now. As soon as you're done listening to this, go sell him because Pacheco's coming back and he gets Denver and Tampa Bay the next 2 weeks, who are known run stoppers. You got to get out from Kareem Hunt. This is a sell for what you can get kind of scenario to me.
Yeah, and I think it's the other thing we were just looking at because we were talking about this earlier. He's got the second worst fantasy playoff schedule. Second worst the running backs do in Kansas City. That doesn't worry me as much for the lead back there because it's Kansas City and they're going to be fine. But Kareem Hunt's not going to be the lead back when Pacheco comes back there. He's a good guy to, like, if you don't have Pacheco and the owner that does have him is kind of struggling at running back or could use the running back help, just go sell Kareem Hunt to that team for one of their receivers or one of their running backs that has more upside. Like I'd rather have Rico Dowdle rest the season, and that is definitely a trade you can go make happen. But he's more of a sell a week early rather than a week too late. This is probably this week and maybe the following week. He's still the starter there, and Pacheco's not fully back yet. But I would much rather always sell a player too early than too late, and he is someone whose flame is dwindling out.
I would 100% go out if you need wide receiver help. Kareem Hunt plus, you might even be able to swap Pickens for Kareem Hunt straight up. He's had great games, 13 fantasy points, 22 fantasy points, 18 fantasy points. It looks good, and the volume's good. And if Isaiah Pacheco wasn't coming back, I wouldn't dare make Hunt a sell. But it's just the volume's going to go. I feel like you could flip him for Pickens. I could definitely see someone who needs a running back trading Kareem Hunt plus receiver here for Malik Nabers. You can do a lot with Kareem Hunt. He's the running back for the Chiefs. That's how everyone views him. And that is how you end up taking advantage of situations like that.
Yep.
Well,
agreed.
We made it. That's week 9 buys and sells. The home stretch is coming forward. I think we're really going to start dialing in to the buys and sells for playoffs specifically here coming up. Make it there, people. Stay locked in, stay focused, and thank you for listening. Make sure you guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Please keep supporting us so we can keep making this content. You guys have done a great job so far. Keep making questions in the comments. I'll keep responding to them. I'm the one who reaches out on that regard. Get in our DMs, interact with us, rate us, review us, please, on whatever you're listening on. Get a weekly season guide from fantasyguides.com. Get all this information that we use to make all these decisions for less than the price of a large pizza. Follow our page on Instagram, X, TikTok, everywhere at Fantasy Guides. I'm Andrew Teuscher. That's Jacob Rhodes. Jacob, say goodbye to the friends at home.
Goodbye, people. Good luck this week.